This video is going to cover factoring monomials. We have to write the prime factorization of each and not write exponents. This is going to, you probably heard of the factor tree, and this is what we're going to use in this one. So let's start with the number 25. So we're going to write 25, and we're going to keep breaking it down into its most simplest form, if you will. So think of what two numbers multiply to 25. So we can do 5 and 5. Because this 5 or this 5 doesn't break down any further, it only breaks down to 1 and 5, which you don't write, you just leave it at 5. We're done with the number. Now we got to deal with the n squared. So we want to think of what two variables multiply to give us n squared, and that would be n and n, because when you multiply n times n you get n squared, and that's it. So our final answer for number 1 is 5 times 5 times n times n. That's our final answer. Number 2, 18xy. So again, we write that 18, we do a factor tree. What two numbers multiply to 18? We can do 9 and 2. So we can break down the 9 even further to 3 and 3. So we're done with those because 3's don't break down any further. We can look at the 2. The 2 doesn't break down any further, so we're done with that. And I'm going to show you if you picked different numbers. So if we said, I'm going to do this in red. So if you did 18, and instead of picking 9 and 2 like we did before, you can say 6 and 3. So we take this 6, we break it down even further to 3 and 2. We're done with those because those don't break down any further, and this 3 doesn't break down any further. And if you look, we get the same concept. We get 3 times 3 times 2. You should actually write the smaller number first, which I'm going to do. 2 times 3 times 3. And if you look at the blue one, same thing. 2 times 3 times 3. So even though we picked different numbers here, they all broke down to be the same. 2 times 3 times 3. So that's that. So now let's look at the variables x and y. X is not going to break down any further. It's just going to remain x. Y is not going to break down any further. It's just going to remain y. So our final answer for this one is 2 times 3 times 3 times x times y. Okay, number 13, 12a. So let's take the 12, break it down to 4 and 3, and you can do 6 and 2 as well. Again, you'll get the same answer in the end if you do it properly. Break down that 4 to 2 and 2. Those don't break down any further. The 3 doesn't break down any further, so we're done with that. Look at the A. The A can't break down any further. It's in its smallest form. So let's go ahead and write our final answer. 2 times 2 times 3 times A. That's our final answer. Number 4, 21y squared. So let's take that 21, break it down, 7 and 3. 7 doesn't break down any further, neither does 3. So we're done with the 21. Let's look at the y squared. What two variables multiply to give us y squared? A y and a y. They can't break down any further, so we're finished with that. So we have 3 times 7 times y times y. Okay, number 5, 81a. So let's go ahead and look at the 81 first. So we have to kind of think real quick because this is not a number we're used to. This is where those rules of factorization come into play. Going through the list, does 2 go into it? No, because it ends in a 1. Does 3 go into it? Well, if we add the 81, the digits in 81, 8 plus 1, we get 9. So 3 does go into 81. So we can even do 9 actually, because 8 plus 1 is 9. 9 goes into 9, so we can go put 9 here. 9 times what gives us 81? 9 times 9. Break down this 9, we get 3 and 3. Break down this 9, we get 3 and 3 as well. Those can't break down any further. So let's go ahead and try A. A is in its simplest form, so our final answer is 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times A. And that's our final answer. Number 6, 92Q. So let's go ahead and write 92. Because it ends in a 2, we already know that it's going to, that 2 is divisible by it because it's an even number. So we put 2. 2 goes into 92 46 times. 2 can't break down any further, but we can break down that 46 to 2 and 23. 23 doesn't break down any further, so we're done with that. So let's look at the Q. The Q is not going to break down any further, so we have to write 2 times 2 times 23 times Q. And that's our final answer. Number 7, 36x cubed. So let's go ahead and write 36. What two numbers go into 36? Well, we can do 6 and 6. You can also do 12 and 3. Let's break down this 6. We get a 2 and a 3. This 6, we get a 2 and a 3. Neither of those break down any further, so let's go ahead and do the x cubed. So we already know that x cubed is going to break down to x times x times x. So you can actually write a triple factor tree, if you will. So x, x, and x. Those don't break down any further, so we're done with that. So let's go ahead and write 2 times 2 times 3 times 3 times x times x times x. And that's our final answer for that. Number 8, 24h. So let's go ahead and take a look at the 24 and break that down. So we go put 24. The two numbers for 24, you can use 6 and 4. This 6 breaks down to 2 and 3. This 4 breaks down to 2 and 2. Nothing else is going to break down any further, so let's look at the h. H is not going to break down any further, so we have our final answer of 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times h. That's our final answer for that. Number 9, 48x squared. So let's go ahead and write that 48. So what can we do for 48? 6 times 8 is 48, so we can put 6 and 8. This 6 breaks down to 3 and 2. This 8 breaks down to 4 and 2. This 4 breaks down to 2 and 2. So we're done with that. Look at the x squared. The x squared is going to break down to x and x. So we're done with that. So let's go ahead and write our final answer. So we have 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times x times x. And you can always check these, by the way, at the when you're done, just to make sure you have the right answer. So if we take this 2 times this 2, we get 4, times this 2 times this 2 gives us 4, times this 3 times x gives us x squared. 4 times 4 gives us 16, times 3 times x squared. 16 times 3 gives us 48x squared, which is what we have in the beginning. So we know that what we put was correct. So let me go ahead and erase all these, get those out of the way. Okay, number 10, 92xy. So let's go ahead and write 92, break that down. So the two numbers that we can do for 92, I believe we can do 4. 4 goes into 9 2 times with 1 left over, which gives us 12. 4 goes into 12 3 times. This 4 breaks down to 2 and 2. The 23 doesn't break down any further, so we're done with that. So let's look at the x. X doesn't break down any further, neither does the y. So our final answer is 2 times 2 times 23 times x times y, and that's our final answer. Number 11, 18x squared. So let's put this 18. Two numbers that we can use are 9 and 2. 9 breaks down to 3 and 3. None of those break down any further. We have x squared. X squared breaks down to x and x. So let's go ahead and write our factorization. We get 2 times 3 times 3 times x, and that's our final answer. Okay, looking at number 12, we get 50x. So let's go ahead and break down that 50. We end up getting 25 and 2. This 25 breaks down to 5 and 5. Can't do anything with the 2. We have our x, which we can't do anything with, so we're done with that. So let's go ahead and write 2 times 5 times 5 times x, and that's our final answer. And this video is on factoring monomials.